The other day, I was on my way to the kitchen, but when I got there, I completely forgot what I was doing there. Was I hungry? Did I want a sandwich? Was I thirsty? Did I need a glass of water? After a moment of racking my brains, I remembered I had left my watch on the counter while I was doing the dishes and I needed to know the time. Of course, I laughed at myself for this senior moment, but deep down, I wondered, was this an early sign of something more concerning, like a degenerative condition such as dementia?
When the brain ages, certain aspects of memory and thinking change. And we recognize that as a normal part of aging. It's not necessarily relating to disease processes. The brain has difficulty in learning new skills, although it can still do them. It just takes longer. The brain has difficulty with multitasking, doing simultaneous activities, but can do individual activities quite well. The brain has difficulty with visual spatial processes as time goes by, and may have difficulty fixing an appliance that they previously were able to fix quite well. This is normal aging.
Those senior moments happen a bit more frequently in normal aging too. Items of information that used to spring to the forefront in an instant now take a few moments to recollect. This can be frightening for people who've lived 40, 60, 80 years without a hiccup in their memory. But even an impressive organ like the brain is going to need some time to rifle through 80 years of data to find that little tidbit you're looking for at the drop of a hat. So senior moments by themselves should not be alarming, especially as there are some things the brain can do in later years that it couldn't do when it was 20.
There are many aspects of brain function that actually improve with the passage of the years. We know that creativity maintains itself quite nicely. Pablo Picasso worked into his 91st year, that musical conductors often are very much occupied into their 80s with their work, and they do it quite effectively. We know that judgment and social skills improve with the experience that people have over time. We know that language maintains itself quite nicely. We know the word wisdom, which is sometimes a hard word to pin down, which in my mind is basically extracting meaning from information and experiences. Wisdom is not a property of young people, but it's certainly a property of older individuals, at least some of them. So a person with a senior moment is looking at the fact that they cannot come up with an item of information instantly, meanwhile ignoring all the other good things that the brain has shown them over time. And senior moments are seldom a forerunner of Alzheimer's disease.
In the normal aging process, there is a decline in some skills, as we mentioned, but that decline doesn't affect the activities of daily life, work performance, or social interaction. That's the difference between a senior moment and what we call mild cognitive impairment.
So mild cognitive impairment involves memory changes that are more significant than what we've been describing as senior moments. In a senior moment, you might not remember the name of a person you casually met. In mild cognitive impairment, you might not remember the names of your grandchildren, a close friend, and that's a much more serious signal that something else is happening. Also, there are behavioral changes that accompany memory problems in mild cognitive impairment, which can tell you that there might be some worries about what might happen down the road. We know that a lack of interest in a person's usual hobbies is a bad sign. Someone who always enjoyed doing a certain hobby all of a sudden is not interested in that. We should be very aware of what that might tell us. Apathy, indifference to family functions, things that previously engaged a person, is another example of kind of a withdrawal that tells us that we should be concerned. Sometimes we see irritable behavior in individuals who never demonstrated that before. We might see some anxiety. We occasionally see depression. And this tells us, these behavioral changes tell us that we should be more attentive to what might happen down the road.
It's important to treat mild cognitive impairment in order to prevent the continual decline of brain function. So one should see a doctor if senior moments are straying into behavioral changes. There are medications and lifestyle modifications that can delay the onset of degenerative brain disease. If you're only losing minor memory details like the name of the movie you just saw or what day you're supposed to meet a friend for lunch, then little tricks such as keeping a more detailed calendar or setting electronic alarm reminders can be a wonderful help, as long as you remember to use them. I'm Dr. Mike Rosen, and you're watching the eHealth Network, I think. Yeah, stay healthy.